Today is May 27th, 2022, and I'm going to do a quick, garden update. This is the first of the year, so I'll try and make it quick. It might go long. Just as a side note, yesterday was the day that Pogi passed on, my brother's dog. So that's kind of sad news. He said it was 3:40 a.m. So you might look at Lamentations chapter 3 verse 40. That was the only book of the Bible I found with that address that would correspond with a verse. So anyway, it's worth a thought. Here, let's go. This is what the greenhouse looks like. As you can see, I've got some tomatoes here that need to get planted, and a marigold, and some sweet potatoes I need to plant out. And it looks like I might be able to plant up some of these lavenders. Most of them look like they're kind of dying, but some of them look like they could be planted up, and I could get lavender bushes from them. They have been there for a long time. So anyway, more sweet potatoes, and down here a few tomatoes and things. So most of the plants in the greenhouse have been planted out, and this is the way things are working. This is I think this is that rosemary? I think it's rosemary. Anyway, so I transplanted this into that pot from the ground. Here's some other plants. Here's my flowers. What are these? Zinnias. So you can see there's a number of zinnias that need to be potted up or planted out. So I finally got them to grow. I had to buy fresh seed. Now these are all transplanted marigolds. They were coming out in the garden, so I put them in the cups. So I got a lot of marigolds. Oh, I think this is butternut. Yeah, these are butternut squash, these here. So I've got some I could give away, and those should be cantaloupe. So I got a few cantaloupe. They need to be spread out and planted out. So I planted out a few. So that's my lavender plant. I cut it back, and you can see it's all bunching out now. This is mostly garlic. Now these garlic tops, when they're young, are very tender, are very nice to eat. You can put them in soup or stir fry them. So I've already cut a whole bunch off of here, and I still got lots that I could cut up. Okay, now this is where I transplanted a whole bunch of marigolds. I had a ton of them coming in here, and I still have some, you can see. I have just planted last week okra in here, so we'll see if I get okra this year. This is all new seed, so I was having trouble. Last year I didn't get any of my okra hardly to grow. And you can see here I also just planted new peas. I think I planted peas in here 3 times. Now, I think this is probably from the first planting. I had just a couple that actually grew. So I should have, they should all be this tall, but I was having trouble getting my peas to sprout. Must have been old seed or something, but you can see one plant coming up. So we'll see how that does. And this is how the tomatoes are looking. And look, you can see all the weeds. I've got a ton of weeds. So I got tomatoes, That one's really kind of growing. Some pepper, tomato, pepper. So that's kind of what I tried to do. So we just had a huge rain yesterday. Now the potatoes I planted out around St. Patrick's Day, and there were onions that I planted in between rows. And look, you can hardly see the onions now. Though those potatoes have really grown up tall and spread out, and they've covered over the onions. So anyway, I've got a few tomato plants growing, and looks like I got a few peppers. Look at that one. That's a nice poblano pepper. Can you see that? So it looks like I could actually harvest those. They're big enough. So potatoes and onions. Now I just planted in I think that's a squash. I put some squashes and some cantaloupe in here, and these potatoes here came up volunteer potatoes, but we'll see if they make it. And then I planted some of my basil. You can see a couple plants in there. They're going to seed, but we'll see what happens. It's new in the year. So anyway, we'll see how these guys do, if they make it or what happens with them. Now I planted some sweet potato vines, but you can see they're not really doing much. We'll see, maybe when the heat gets them going. And then the garlic chives, which are really good. You can see they've come back from last year, and those are really actually a very strong garlic flavor with those, and those are what I put in my pickles last year for the garlic. So I've got some garlic chives here. Now here I got pole beans. Finally, I had to plant these pole beans out at least twice. So you can see that finally on the second one, a few of them are starting to come up. I mean, there's a lot of seeds that I planted in here, but I'm getting just a few plants. So we'll see if more plants come up, but it would mean that, you know, a very small percentage of the actual seeds are doing well. But anyway, that's okay. So the garlic again. This is more garlic chives here, which I really enjoyed. Now this is something I didn't really get to grow last year, but the cilantro is something very new and very tasty. I'm putting that on some of my sandwiches, and you know, that goes good, I guess, with salsa. I don't really know how to use it, but now that I'm getting it to grow, I better figure it out. Chards. Now, I love this. These chards are fantastic. I take a leaf and put them on a sandwich. In fact, this evening I'll cut one leaf and it'll be my lettuce. I'll use the chard that way. So, I think that's a volunteer pole bean. See, this is how tall all my pole beans should be. But these guys, you see, I had to replant them. So I really have not had a good experience with my pole beans, really. But we'll see. Now I threw in all kinds of seeds in this area here. There's potatoes, there's garlic. You can see you can cut these. You cut them down right there. Now the leaf will be very tough unless it's you know, maybe in February and March you could eat all of it, all the stalk and the leaves. But these leaves become kind of tough. So, and this will become tough too if you let it go too long. But right now you cut that and chop it up and dice it, and it'll be very nice to eat. And I guess we're going to get a flower here sooner or later. You can see the potatoes and more cilantro and chives, and then there's a kale plant. And I've got onions and potatoes in here, and it looks like I have one, what is it, mustard? A mustard plant right here. So that's nice. And then through here, tomatoes and peppers. You see how that goes. And then this one, he's growing pretty tall. Should be on the inside. Oh well. Then I got a peach tree. Look at that. This little peach tree. I didn't plant it. I don't know, either the squirrels planted it or somehow a seed got over here. But look, I've got little peaches. That peach tree there, I cut it back so much it died on me. Then I got I've never seen any grapes off of that vine yet, so that may be a wild grapevine. I've had it there for some years now. This is at least the third or fourth year. I haven't seen any fruit yet. If it doesn't have grapes this year, I guess I'll dig it out as a wild vine. Anyway, I've given it a lot of time. So, here, let's see if we can get through here. Here's some more basil and cilantro. Looks like I need to transplant these cucumbers. Now here's some mint. I think that's peppermint, chocolate mint, and apple mint. So I have 3 mints, and I guess I have a little bit of mint on the ground over there. We'll see if it takes out. I think that's spearmint. So we'll see how that works. And I dug up a whole bunch of garlic. I never did plant it out again. I just didn't know what to do. I mean, where to plant it, I guess. Maybe I got lazy. Maybe that's a more better. Potatoes. I wasn't sure. I planted potatoes in here, and look, you can see how these guys have gone to flower. So this one had other things planted in the top, but the potatoes took over, it looks like. So trying to plant things with potatoes doesn't seem to be working too good for me. Because and I was trying to grow some lettuce, I think, in some of these, and looks like it's just got weeds. And it looks like I threw some. We can see the carrots, but there's also, it looks like cucumber coming up in there. So don't know what to say about that. We'll see what happens. And then of course there's some weeds in there. So we'll see. Now I planted corn here. In fact, just a few days ago I planted this again during the rain actually. But I planted corn out here at least twice. You can see where I've got 2 or 3 corn stalks that came up from the first batch, but for some reason the seed, even though a lot of that seed was I just bought it, but it must have been old seed even from the seed store, because it didn't come up. So we'll see how this. I went to another seed store and bought more corn. What is Ambrosia is what it is. The name of the corn is Ambrosia. And then I had garlic planted in here, and you can see most of the tops have been cut off. And you can see a ton of dill. I threw a whole bunch of seeds. I thought they were old, but it looks like a lot of them sprouted. So dill, and then I planted a couple of tomato plants. Maybe I'll plant some more tomato plants in here. I actually planted peas along the fence out here, but none of them came up, not one. So like I say, I've had trouble. And on the inside, I planted beans, and not one of the beans came up on this fence, and none of the peas came up. Or maybe I planted peas on both sides. But I know on this side, on this fence here, you can see the pole beans. I did get a couple of the pole beans. I can see 1, 2, 3 plants. But I planted all kinds of seeds down the fence, and these couple came up. So you can see all the weeds I'm growing. Now I did expand this garden out here. I doubled the area. You can see And I put down cardboard in the new area and been filling it with leaves and grass, and so we'll see how that works. I've planted cucumbers, and we'll see if they make it. Now, I actually had some cucumbers come up on their own right in there. Looks like 1, 2. So we'll see which do, the transplanted cucumbers or these. And it looks like I got a couple of deal plants there coming up, so that's nice. So in this area here, I'm not sure what I'll plant, but I do have a number of plants still to plant. Okay, this is most of the front. A basil plant I came out and planted. I can't see those, that the cucumbers look so healthy. They look sad. But let's give it a couple of weeks and see. Borage. I got one borage coming up. I had some, you can see here, deal plant. And these other plants here are, what is that? They're not good plants, you know, they're hay fever plants. You see those leaves that look kind of like marigold? Of course, I did come out and plant one of my marigold flowers. The garlic in there and weeds. But one mustard in my grass there. So mustard is nice when it's young like that to put on sandwiches. Okay, I don't see apples on my apple tree this year. I mean, the vines, the vine looks healthy, and I cut that way back. I mean, I cut it way back, and now it's taken off like crazy. Yeah, I don't see any apples on that apple tree. Oh, no, there are. There's a couple little ones up there. Itty bitty. So maybe I'll get a couple apples if the squirrels don't eat them. Okay, and some volunteer marigolds. You see them there? So I've got a number of volunteer marigolds around the yard. And then I got 20 or 30 in cups, which I'm not sure what I'm going to do with those. See, look. There's a volunteer marigold, volunteer 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So right in this area there's a number of volunteer marigolds. And in here you can see some more. At least 10. So I'm going to have a lot of marigolds. And we'll see if the corn comes up. And so this area out here, I thought it would be, you know, full of peas by now, but I don't know why. But I've had a tough time getting any of the peas to germinate. Well, in the back here, I did plant some more cucumbers. It looks like at least a couple of the vines are going to make it. I planted a whole bunch of, you know, little plants. You can see my peach tree there. I may cut a couple more of the branches back, but there are little peaches on it. So I see a number of peaches, but you can see, I wish I had a little more sunlight. Dollar Tree, bought those at Dollar Tree. Anyway, kind of cute, I thought. So we'll see how these cucumbers come along. And I got a marigold. These I started inside, and I have a couple peppers there, but they haven't been strong so much. And then you can see how the weeds are growing so nicely here. The only thing that's not weeds is this oregano here, and then over there, and of course the chives, garlic chives. That's a very nice, but it's a lot. It seems smaller than what I had last year. Then I have another thing of oregano here. So I got 3 sets of oregano, and then weeds. And this other grapevine, I didn't really cut this one back at all. I don't know. Last year it did this. It looked like it might produce something, but then nothing happened. So you guys can, I don't know if this is going to produce grapes. If it does, that'll be exciting. But it doesn't get a tremendous amount of sunlight now. Now that the leaves have come on the tree, you can see how shady it is. So this is Poggy's. This is Tom's dog's grave. And he was an old dog. I think, did he say 14 years old or something? A poodle. So anyway, people who know him will know the dog. And you can see where my garlic from last year, I never did harvest it. You can see how that's, like if we needed some garlic tops, they're actually pretty nice to eat. But I already have a dozen or so inside. I've given a few away. I didn't want to overwhelm people, but look, there's 50 or 60 garlic tops that could be cut, and these are actually very nice when they're tender. And I think they're still tender, but soon they'll be getting hard. And then, well, once they start to harden, you can't really eat them. I guess they make good compost. So I got a whole field of garlic. So that's kind of nice. And then I got a little bit of garlic on that side. Well, that's the update. These are all fresh grass. But after a year, I'll take this grass and use it like compost. I'll add it into the leaves and it'll be kind of broken down pretty good with time. Okay, well that's the yard. Oh, I do have some, at least I had one cherry. I don't have a ton of cherries, or maybe have they been eaten already? So I got a couple of cherries. And then look. That's amazing how that happens. So I got a couple of cherries back here. But it's not a big harvest of cherries. And that cherry tree has died on me. And these are volunteer cherry trees that came up from some seeds. And you can see how the deer's rubbed up against it and damaged the bark. So we'll see. When they're younger, I guess I could have dug them up and tried to transplant them, but I didn't. So we'll see how these trees do and how this one does.